We have a wonderful list of speakers today, and I think you'll find it worthwhile staying till the end if you can. We also have a special guest speaker. John Norquist came to Detroit yesterday. He's the president of the CNU, and he's going to give us a special presentation today right after Stefanos Palazoidis, between him and Jaromir Steiner. The symposium was formulated because of some recent unsuccesses that we had, where a number of projects that we interviewed for we didn't get because we were told that new urbanism doesn't work in Michigan, and that Michiganders are unique to the other 49 states, and that Michiganders don't like to walk outside and they don't like to live in dense, compact areas. And I know better than that, and we all know better than that. So we scrambled together to put together the symposium to prove different. The symposium has been sponsored by the American Society of Landscape Architects, Michigan chapter, the Michigan Land Use Institute, the Congress for New Urbanism, Michigan chapter, our own firm, Gibbs Planning Group, and the Urban Retail Institute. So we're very grateful for that. Our speakers include David Jensen, Jaromir Steiner, this is the order, Stefanos Palazoidis, James Kunstler, the author of The Geography of Nowhere, Peter Allen, a professor at the University of Michigan in real estate, Susan Mosey, she's called the mayor of Midtown Detroit, Jim Tischler with MISTA, and Dan Gilmartin with the Michigan Municipal League. You'll be hearing the term urbanism used a lot. We're going to interchangeably use the terms urbanism, placemaking, new urbanism, city building. And to us, they all mean the same thing. And urbanism includes everything from a small village like Harbor Springs, to a small town like Petoskey, to a city like Grand Rapids, or to a large metropolis like downtown Detroit. Urbanism also includes inner ring suburbs like this one in Memphis, where we've been working. And it, of course, includes new greenfield development, where you have everything built new on a formerly vacant piece of property. So the term new urbanism or urbanism can apply to all of these. I'm frequently told that people don't like the new urbanism because they don't like plowing up farms and building on greenfield sites. But the new urbanists spend most of their time working in inner ring suburbs or existing cities. And I think a lot of people misunderstand what the term means. New urbanism is not new in Michigan. Prior to World War II, prior to the Depression in the 1910s and 20s, there were a handful of landscape architects that practiced here, really using the new urbanism principles. This is a neighborhood that was planned in Ann Arbor. This was a new urban plan for Grand Rapids done in the 1920s, where Grand Rapids would have been a 5-story or less city. This is the master plan for Birmingham that was done by Jim Cummings, who was a very noted Harvard landscape architect. And he developed this 1920s plan for Birmingham, which caused for this to be here. In his plan, he called for Birmingham the city to buy 9 square blocks of residential and tear down every house for 9 blocks and to build a city beautiful plan. This building, it was one of those 9 blocks. And they built the city hall, the library, the park across the street from you, and churches. And they built this beautiful city plan, really based on urban principles, which the new urbanists have adapted. The city of Lathrop Village had this plan, which was actually built in the 1920s, which could easily be a model today for a new urban community. It showed for a town square to be built on Southfield Highway with civic buildings on the square. And the plan was built for the most part and developed. It was planned by a landscape architect. Prior to the Depression, many of these communities were built as a real estate investment. This is Country Club Plaza in Kansas City, where real estate developers built great urbanism. They built walkable places to help sell residential lots. In Country Club Plaza's example, they built the town center here to sell 5 neighborhoods that were grouped around this. And this was very common to build great urbanism, great walkable places to make the other real estate more valuable. This happened in Lake Forest, Illinois, Highland Park, and Forest Hills, for example. These were real estate developers that built very compact, mixed-use, commercial town centers to make the rest of the real estate more valuable. The New Urbanist, or the Congress for New Urbanism, was founded about 25 years ago based on those principles, where we re-examined how to apply those principles to modern conditions with the automobile and modern lifestyles. The town centers that have been built following these new urban principles, this is Brookdale Village, for example, have for the most part been very successful. There were a number of these built before the Great Depression of 2007, and I think a lot of these principles have been worked out. The trend right now is that there's a large preference for people to live in walkable communities. You can see, for example, that persons that are getting 55 or older are preferring small lot homes versus large lot homes. This type of small lot community appeals to empty nesters, first-time home buyers, divorced single parents, and it allows people to have a compact, walkable environment with less home maintenance and with more of a social community. These small communities rely on town centers and commercial in order to be viable. And in some cases where they've been built without something to walk to, they've been less successful because you are asking people to pay a little more per square foot for the house for less of a lot and with a little less privacy. In exchange for that, it's good to give them something to walk to. When you have a walkable community, people can spend more on their house, less on transportation. And there's an incredible advantage to living in walkable communities in terms of property values. Rents on average are $300 higher per month for apartments that are in walkable communities versus suburbs. That being said, about a third of the home buyers today still prefer to live in the suburbs. About a third prefer to live in walkable communities. Unfortunately, only 1% of the new product being built today is being built in walkable communities. So because you have a 30% demand and a 1% supply, many of these communities are getting overinflated. The New Urbanists are not trying to impose walkable communities on everybody. Our goal was to just set up a choice so that 35% of people that prefer to live in a walkable community have a place to go to. Prior to the CNU's actions, mostly just suburban developments were built and people really had no choice. Our goal was to give people a choice. If you're the 35% that prefers to live in a suburb, fine. We just want to have an alternative to that. The other 35% of the people that are not listed here really don't know. And when surveyed, they said they don't know. They think they like the new urbanism, but they think the lots are too small. By 2030, it's forecast that there will be about a 38% oversupply of large lot subdivisions, and it's forecast that large lot residential will see a severe decline in home values. There's estimated to be about a 40% increase for small lot subdivisions by 2030, and that bears out, I think, a lot when you just look at the aging population that we have. I've seen forecasts, which I think Jim Kunstler will go on later today, forecasting that the many outer ring suburbs homes will have such a low demand that they'll be divided up into apartments. I'm not sure if that's true, but some people speculate about that. It's forecast that by 2030 there will be 23 million too many large lot homes in the United States, and that there will be a demand for 40 million more small lot homes and a demand for 15 million more attached homes. This is a very interesting number because the building industry is not really addressing the small lot homes. Less than 1% of the homes being built nationally are being built as small compact homes, and in Southeast Michigan it's almost 0%. In for sale homes, it's estimated that each square foot sells for about $81 more per square foot when you build a home now in a walkable community. And I think in Southeast Michigan, you see that when you see homes being sold in Ferndale, Royal Oak, Birmingham, other areas. They can significantly outperform suburban locations. We're seeing a big demand for office in downtown areas. You're seeing a lot of offices move into central business districts or into downtowns. We've seen that in Detroit, for example. And I know anecdotally in Birmingham, Birmingham has the highest office rents in the state, and it's the 16th highest office market in the United States. We have some offices that rent for almost $50 a square foot per year in Birmingham, which is 3 times the square foot price of the surrounding communities, even though many of the surrounding communities have really great Class A office with lots of parking, elevators that work, great central air conditioning. Compared to many of our buildings in Birmingham, we outperform them significantly. There's an advertising firm here in Birmingham that moved here from the suburbs about 5 years ago, and recently they said that one of the side perks they didn't expect is that they have a lot less travel by being in Birmingham, because a lot of their clients now prefer to fly into here, stay at the Townsend Hotel, and have the meeting here because they enjoy being downtown Birmingham. It's estimated that when you have an office in a community that has a walk score of 80, that's 80 points out of 100 versus a walk score of 20, that you have about a 54% larger market value, almost 2% appreciation per quarter, and a 42% net operating income. The office buildings in walkable communities such as Birmingham significantly outperform the suburbs. This is one of Birmingham's new office buildings. This was built under a code planned by Andreas Dewani about 20 years ago, the 2016 plan. This was one of the first form-based codes in the United States. At the time this code was passed, Birmingham had a zoning ordinance that only allowed one-story buildings unless you parked on site, and then they allowed a 2-story building. And they counted the basement as a story, so it was actually a negative 1-story zoning, and not a lot was being built at the time. Dewani's code called for allowing 5-story buildings if they looked like a 4-story building, if they had residential on the upper level, and if they had retail on the first level. And as a result of that, Birmingham had about 25 buildings built within 5 years. And it doubled its SEV, its taxable value, because of this plan. And if you get a chance to walk around Birmingham, you'll see a lot of 5-story new buildings that were built as a result of this code. This is on Woodward. It's estimated that on average, offices in walkable areas have almost a $9 per square foot advantage over offices in suburban locations. That's per square foot per year. Walkable communities can look like this, of course, where you have mixed use and where you have retail on the first floor. Many office workers prefer to work in downtowns where they can go down the elevator or walk down the steps and walk to a Starbucks or to a lot of restaurants. That's a perk that you cannot get in the suburbs. Retail also likes to be located in downtowns. Many national chains, such as Banana Republic, for example, are throwing out their old rules for store design just so they can fit in historic buildings. And these are Banana Republics, for example, in Portland to the left, Miami Beach to the upper right, and Charleston in the lower right. The stores are now willing to go 2 and 3 stories. They're willing to adapt to historic design standards if they can be in city centers. Retail on average is worth almost $7 a square foot when it's over suburbs, when it's located in a walkable town center. Retailers are willing to pay more because they're getting higher sales. Rents are about 10% of sales, so that means they're getting about $60 a square foot more in sales when they're in walkable town centers. You'll see that now with the large format retailers, Target and Walmart, for example, both have urban stores that are being built in downtowns. The upper left is a new Target store that a new Walmart store that just opened in downtown Washington, D.C. It's a 4-story Walmart attached in a historic building attached to residential. This would have been unheard of 5 or 10 years ago, but this is the new trend. There's about 15 of these stores now built across the United States, and they're going there because that's where the customers are, that's where they get higher sales, and I think you'll see many of those coming into Michigan in the near future. The lifestyle retail format was invented about 20 years ago in response to this walkable trend. In a lifestyle center, you can park your car and walk between shops easily in an outdoor setting. The residential that's located in these tend to outperform the suburbs. This residential, for example, rents for about $3.80 a square foot per month. If you know those numbers, that's about 3 times what you would get in a suburban location, and they don't even provide parking for these residential units. We have a lifestyle center in Michigan, one that we were fortunate to plan for the Aikens Company. We planned this about 12 years ago in Rochester Hills. It's a lifestyle center because it just has retail. It's only 1 story tall. We weren't at the time able to put residential or office above. Today, I think the developer and the city both wish they had done that, and I think if this were planned today, it would have that. But this is has been a very successful project. It's outperforming equivalent suburban locations, and the developer told me that the rents have gone up every month since they opened this center 12 years ago. By the way, open-air shopping centers tend to do better in cold climates where it snows. For some reason, people get more motivated to shop outside when it's cold, especially around Christmas time. And everybody likes to be outside when we have a warm day like today when it's 45 degrees outside and sunny. This is about as warm as it gets here in Michigan. We have a number of people from Florida right now. They've all been complaining to me about how cold it is, and I think this is our warmest day. This is a new trend in retail where you're actually putting lifestyle centers now in cities. And instead of building them out on a greenfield site like we did in Rochester Hills, they're actually putting them right in downtowns like Royal Oak or Ferndale. They're taking empty parking lots and very meticulously combining residential and retail and dovetailing it very seamlessly right into the downtown. This is Blueback Square in West Hartford, Connecticut, and this is the next trend in mixed-use development, is to put it in inner ring suburbs. This is an early one in California. Now, the reason for this symposium is that we have we did a lot of new urban work before the Depression, before the recession, but since 2007, all of our urban plan, all of our private sector work stopped, which I understand. But coming out of the recession, the developers have been telling me That yes, they're gung-ho on development, they want to build more residential, they're running out of inventory of lots, they want to build retail, they want to build office, but they don't want to build it like this. They don't want anything mixed use, they don't want anything walkable, they really want to go back to the conventional suburban style. And I'm sure there's exceptions to that rule in Michigan, I know there are, but I believe the majority of Michigan developers are very gun-shy about developing it, and I think it's because of this. This Bloomfield Park project was built in Bloomfield Township in Pontiac about 7 or 8 years ago. It stopped construction for a number of reasons, and it's considered now to be about a $350 million loss. This is what it looks like today. And I think this has caused a lot of developers to say, because it didn't work here, it won't work anywhere in Michigan. And I think you'll find that our panelists will hopefully prove different. Prior to the recession of 2007, there were a handful of new urban communities built. This is one in Howell, Michigan. This is where they're located in the state of Michigan. They were mixed. Some were very successful, and some were so-so successful. This is one we planned in Lake Orion. I know Becky is here that actually didn't get off the ground. I think it would have been beautiful. There's one planned up in Interlochen, Michigan. This is one that got built in Canton. This is the largest one built in southeast Michigan, Cherry Hill in Canton, Michigan. It's quite beautiful. It was planned by LRK. We did the commercial plan. This is Howell Town Commons, which for the most part has been built. And then there's several that has been built in northern Michigan. Crystal Mountain Resort has built a nice one. And then there's one in Frankfurt